All right, honeys, let's talk a little bit now because this actually has come up several times in some of my recipes that some of y'all don't like cooking and baking because it makes too much of a mess and you don't want the hassle of all the cleanup and you kind of wanted to see my kitchen set up. Well, we did spring cleaning yesterday, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to keep the mess under control, and then I'll kind of show you the setup in my kitchen. So when you're making things, like we're in the middle of making two different things. We've got English muffins going. They're sitting on the back of the stove back there. And then I also have that donut loaf that is currently in the oven. So I've made a couple of things. Well, the kitchen is not a wreck. Let me turn you around. All right, there's my sink. Okay, that's the mixer we just used. The only thing sitting in my sink is that because I haven't washed it yet. There are the things that I just used. I'm not done with my flour, right? There you go. All my cast iron sitting up here because I'm in the middle of using my oven. So my setup is, I have a toaster oven. We use that quite often. Those things sit out, which is a lot of my baking pans and sheets, because I use them so often, I need them quick, right? So they're right at my touch. There is the newest member of my family. It took a bit for me to figure out where he was going to live. This is my food dehydrator. It is a Magic Mill. When we start getting into doing some more of the homesteading of the dehydrating milk and eggs, we're gonna talk more about this. I haven't really dehydrated a whole lot. My starter and chicken feet, that's it, right? I have a tiny little food processor. I need a new one. That one's about dead. This is really all I need. It does a lot of things. We have a NutriBullet. We're gonna be using that. Coffee grinder, right? Cutting boards, things of that nature. Pizza stones, cast iron. We can talk about cast iron if y'all want to. I'm going to be honest with you. I bought these off of Amazon because I've had some people asking about the Amazon cast iron, whether or not they're legit. So if y'all want to talk about it, you let me know because that can be a whole video on its own. This side is where I keep my spices, just my salt and pepper that stays up out of the counter. Tea, because we use that a lot. That is our bread and chip box because we have access to that all the time. And then this side of the kitchen is usually my prep area. We try to keep this clear as much as we can. And then my coffee station. So, how do you keep your kitchen clean when you're doing that much baking? It's simple. Clean as you go, right? So, when I got done making the donut dough, right? We had wet, dry, we had all of that. While the donut dough mixed, it only took a minute. As soon as that was done, I let that sit in the mixer for just a minute, and then I cleaned all the things that I had just used, which was, I think, a spatula. I used a couple of measuring cups, things of that nature. I didn't clean my measuring spoons because I knew I was going to use them again, right? So we washed all those things and we put them away. When we got ready to do the English muffins, the same thing. I used a whisk, my measuring cups, my measuring spoons, and my glass measuring cup. Right, that's what we used. And my bowl. Well, my bowl is still being used because my bread's sitting in there and it's proofing. So while that was mixing, I put away all my measuring spoons because I'm done with them now. I put away my measuring cups. I washed the one that I used along with the fork, which is over there, and I had showed you that just a second ago. And I wiped my counters down. I'm constantly wiping my counters down. Like you just gotta constantly wipe your counters down. I have washed my sink probably 5 times. I have probably washed my counters 20 since I've made breakfast, right? As soon as I was done making those fluffy eggs, I washed my cast iron. Always wash your cast iron hot. It's easier to clean. Put it back on the stove. Let the heat from the stove dry it out and then oil it again. So I cleaned that immediately. Washed out my bowls. I'm having to wash my things by hand right now because my dishwasher is currently going because it's full. So I just wash the things as I go. It takes just as long to wash it as it does to just to rinse it out, right? Just wash it, dry it off, and put it back. That's how you keep your kitchen clean. Do one thing at a time and clean up after you do each thing. The other thing that will make it easier, I'm gonna switch hands, mise en place. If you all don't know what that word means, that is, I think it's German, for everything in its place, meaning you should have your things together before you start. So to make things easier, if you're gonna make English muffins, pull your recipe up, pull all your ingredients out, and put them in front of you on the counter. Everything is already there. That's mise en place. Make sure that your bowl and your mixer is ready. If you need a spatula, have that out. Have your measuring cups, have your measuring spoon. All those things need to be there before you ever begin to cook your recipe or to mix it or whatever, right? Have your oven on if you're going to be baking something. These things will make cooking and baking more pleasurable because you're not having to stress out and look for things. And when you know you're done and you're not going to do anymore, put those things away. Either while it's cooking, because we're baking, we have a lot of downtime now. I probably have, okay, I got 14 seconds, the oven's fixing to go off, and I'm going to check my donut bread in there and see if that is done. If it's not done, we'll put some more time on it. Hang on. Okay, so we had to put 5 more minutes on the other loaf. Both of those are actually out. We'll finish that video in a minute. But basically, like I said, is to make it less stressful, less overwhelming, things of that nature. If you will just practice a couple of times, clean as you go, you will find it's much less stressful. Mise en place, have all of your things ready before you begin your recipe. One, to make sure you have all the ingredients, right? You have the amount of ingredients that you want, right? Do the thing. Clean your stuff up as you go while it's either cooking, baking, or whatever. I do the same thing when, my gravy was done and I used it, I cleaned the pot immediately. As soon as my eggs were done, I cleaned my pan immediately. So all I have really to do is clean his dishes, which he technically rinses his off and sticks them in the dishwasher himself. There's not much for me to do. Wipe the stove down. All those things are so much easier to do when you're right there and you're already in the mindset. So, mise en place, have all of your things out, clean as you go, and try to enjoy the process. Hopefully this helps, and more of you will get out there and start to cook and bake and do all those things. It's really rewarding, especially when you turn out something really yummy and you did that, right? Because you can totally do that. You totally can. I know you can. So as always, if you have any questions or any other worries or concerns, you know the rules. Put them in the comments down below and I'll be happy to answer you. So get out and do some cooking.